who actually has type 1 diabetes. How old are you, Livy? She's 6 years old. And when did you get diagnosed with type 1 diabetes?
I was 14 months old.
Yeah, and what is it like with you living with type 1 diabetes? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
I don't like
You don't like it? Why don't you like it?
because when I have the pump, it only has 2 days before I won't change it.
Right, so what happens is Livy has a pump, just like I think you've seen Aaron's pump that he's worn in the past. So she has a pump that gives her insulin, but every 2 days she has to change her pump. It's in her leg right now. It's right here. And so every 2 days she has to get that device changed, and it's got a little needle and it has to go in every 2 days to change it. But that's better than getting a shot every day, which if you didn't have a pump. And she has this other cool device. What's your other device?
My sensor.
Your sensor. What does that do for mommy?
It makes her have the stuff that goes on her phone and on the CGM, and she could read my blood sugar.
Right, so why this is important is that her mommy, because she's so little, her mommy can look at her blood sugar at all times and see what her blood sugars are to make sure that she's safe, right? And so, that's the important. That's the important thing is that she stays safe at all times, and we know what her blood sugars are. And so, when your blood sugar is low, what do you get? And so, what a low blood sugar means is that she has too much insulin in her system. And so, what does that mean?
I sometimes say my belly hurts, or I say I'm hungry, or I might just cry.
Right. And what does mommy give you?
A glucose tablet.
A glucose tablet or juice or something like that, right?
What did you have this morning after breakfast when you still felt low?
A munchkin.
A munchkin. See, so she had a donut. And so what you see is that these kids can have everything that you can have. They just have to balance it with everything else that they eat, same as you. Like, what would you feel like if you had a whole meal of nothing but cakes and cookies and ice cream? Would you feel good? No, you wouldn't. Your bellies would hurt. You wouldn't feel good after a while. So these kids are no different than you. You should just eat properly, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is like what we've done every year. We're going to ask you to raise some money for these children for research for type 1 diabetes. So hold that up. So you've all got envelopes. And in those envelopes are sneakers. Open up the envelope. Those are sneakers. And so anyone that gives you, it could be $1, it could be $2, it could be $5, it could be $10, you would ask your friends and family to make a donation for JDRF for type 1 diabetes research. And then when you have those sneakers, bring them in with the person's name on them, and we're going to hang them all over Temple Emanuel to show our support for these kids that live with this disease and hopefully raise money for that disease. And so if you can do that, we're going to then do our walk on May 1st during your sessions. And what did we raise last year? A little over $2,000. So our goal this year is to raise more than that. And the winning classroom gets a special treat. So we've got to work hard for the best classroom, okay, and see if we can bring as much money in as possible to raise money for those living with type 1 diabetes, okay? Can we do that? Can you guys remind your moms and dads and ask your friends? Hello? I don't hear anyone. Oh, okay. All right, so we're going to see you guys back in a couple of weeks. Do you have any questions for me or Livy? Anyone have any questions? Go ahead. Blood sugar. So normal blood sugar, here I'll show you. So normal blood sugar for you is about 90, okay? And so I will show you what happens with someone, because this is Aaron's. I can read Aaron's glucometer. And so Aaron didn't, for whatever reason, have enough insulin this morning. Can you guys read what that number is? 378. So as you can see, Aaron ate something that was a little sugary this morning for breakfast as a special treat. But because his body couldn't tolerate it, and for some reason maybe he didn't get enough insulin, or we guessed the wrong carb count, his blood sugars are very high right now. So what has to happen is we have to give him more insulin to bring his blood sugars down into a better range, where your body would just make the adjustment all by itself. Any other questions?
Is it important to drink a lot of water?
So yes, just like you should do and keep your body hydrated, with a type 1 diabetic, it's very important to stay hydrated, because when you drink water when your blood sugars are high, it begins to take that sugar and push it out through your body by drinking water. But everybody should drink water.
Can you feel it when blood sugar is low?
Can you feel it?
Yes.
And what do you feel like?
Like my belly hurts, or I say I'm hungry.
Did you hear her? She said her belly hurts or she feels like she's hungry. So my son would tell you that he would eat the entire refrigerator when your blood sugars are low. And that's because when your blood sugars are low, your body's looking for energy. They're looking for food, and it's starving for that. And that's why you're hungry. There was a question over here. Go ahead. That's a very good question. So a lot of you guys hear about type 2 diabetes, right? So type 2 diabetes means your pancreas doesn't quite work so well, and you have to be very careful of what you eat. So your body produces just enough insulin to compensate for what you eat, and you can take a pill to help that. With type 1 diabetes, your pancreas doesn't work at all. It doesn't produce any insulin at all, and so no matter what you eat, you have to take insulin. Does that help? There was a question over here.
Where do you add in money?
So you have a little envelope in your pocket, you put it in your envelope and you bring it in. There's also on each of your paperwork, there's a website. So if you wanted to create a walk page, you could do that, and then your family members who may not live locally can donate to your walk page, okay? And that'll be on all the paperwork that you bring. But if you're just bringing money in, you just bring it in a little envelope that looks like this. Go ahead. Yeah? You gotta talk up, sweetie. For type 1 diabetes, right now there's no cure for type 1 diabetes, which is why we're raising the money for research for a cure. That's what all your money's coming for JDRF. JDRF is the largest organization that funds research for type 1 diabetes. And that's how we pay our researchers. For type 2 diabetes, you can manage it. Okay? There was a question over here. No. Anyone else? Go ahead. At Flying Fish, yep. There was a fundraiser last night at Flying Fish for type 1 diabetes. That's absolutely right. Good job. Thank you for going.
Does her little sister have it, or is she?
No, she does not.
So just because type 1 diabetes is not contagious, and just because one family member has it doesn't mean a second family member will get it. But it is possible that a second family member could get it.
And you won't know until it happens.
Right. Your mom has type 1 diabetes? And what is that like? Right? Because she's trying to help manage it, because when she eats something that's more carbs, it's more insulin. And just because you can eat something that's sugary with a type 1 diabetic, it doesn't react the same way as it might react in you. So it's a little harder to overcome. Okay, do we have anyone? I'm just going to go to anyone that has not asked a question. Now, go ahead, sweetie.
What happens if your blood sugar is very, very high?
So how do you feel when your blood sugars are very, very high?
I don't feel.
You don't feel? So when you're very little, high blood sugars are hard to feel. You don't always feel it. I will tell you that my son feels tired, he gets a little grumpy, he doesn't want to do very much because you have no energy to do anything. And that's when we
Sorry. That's part of why we have her on the monitor as well. Because when she's too high, especially at school, we have to tell the nurse to give her extra insulin. Otherwise, that affects how she feels at school, affects her learning. When her blood sugar is high, and she has to drink the water to help get the blood sugar So that causes, high blood sugar also causes you to go to the bathroom a lot. So that takes away more from school. So sometimes it's just easier to have the monitor on her. So that way we can kind of get her blood sugars under control a little bit quicker.
Okay, there's one. We'll take one more back here.
At high school, we watched a little live show and someone from the JDRF and that we did a walk and we raised like $2,500.
That's awesome. Which school are you in, sweetheart? Yep, absolutely. I think Rena's got a little bit she's got to do with you guys still. So thank you guys so much. Remember to bring in all of your money on May 1st. Remember to give those envelopes to mom and dad, please, okay?
And if you have questions, you guys all know that I am at the front desk. So feel free to ask anytime you want. And today, Livy and Ashley are both up here, so I'm sure they'll answer any questions you guys have.
Hey, what do we say?